Are you failing or are you just gathering data? Think about that for a second. Most of us think we're failing just because we haven't hit our big goals yet. But what if I told you that your biggest so-called failure is actually the exact foundation you need for future success? Seriously, today, let's talk about why you absolutely need to stop being so hard on yourself. We've basically been lied to about what it actually takes to succeed. And honestly, it's time to break that cycle right now.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Welcome to the Resilience Laboratory. We're going to break down exactly how you can take those painful setbacks and flip them into your greatest future successes. So to really understand why we constantly feel like we're failing, we gotta look at the root of the problem, something called the arrival fallacy. You know the feeling, right? We live for that one moment of arrival, that magical, elusive day when we finally snag the promotion, buy the dream house, or hit some massive financial milestone. And because we're so laser-focused on that finish line, we end up viewing literally everything before it as a failed attempt. We tell ourselves, okay, once I get there, then I'll be happy. Once I do this one thing, all my stress will vanish. But the reality? You're just moving the goalpost. The second you achieve it, your brain immediately scopes out the next peak. You get the raise and boom, you're stressing over the next promotion. You buy the house and immediately freak out about renovations. It's just this endless, exhausting treadmill that totally robs you of your present wins. And this brilliantly illustrates a tough truth. This constant chase, it isn't actually ambition. It's an addiction to being someone you aren't yet. When your eyes are perpetually glued to the horizon, you completely disconnect from right now. You are quite literally missing your own life while waiting for a future that just hasn't arrived. Think about how wild that is. If you're always living in tomorrow, you're stripping away all the joy of today. We convince ourselves that the messy struggle we're in right now is just some uncomfortable waiting room before our real life begins. But guys, this is your life. This messy, incomplete, in-progress phase, that's where the actual living happens. So, how do we actually fix this? Well, we need a massive mental shift in how we define failure. Listen, if you haven't reached your goal, it doesn't mean you're failing. It simply means you're still gathering data. Let that sink in. Every single expert out there was once a complete beginner. Every massive success story you look up to was built on a giant mountain of things that completely failed to work. Think about a scientist in a lab. If a prototype blows up, they don't sit there crying about being a failure and questioning their entire existence. No, they log the data. They go, all right, that variable didn't work. Good to know. They extract the lesson. And we have to do the exact same thing with our lives. Every misstep is just incredibly valuable data showing you how to tweak your approach. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the reframe. Your failure isn't a dead end. It's a necessary laboratory. In this lab of setbacks, you're learning resilience, you're building fresh strategies, you're developing deep self-awareness. These are absolutely crucial foundational skills that you literally couldn't have learned if everything just went perfectly on the first try. Smooth sailing just doesn't teach you how to navigate a storm, you know? When things fall apart, you are actually paying the price of entry for greatness. The people who win in the long run aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who treat their failures like a masterclass in what to do differently next time. We also really need to dismantle this toxic hustle culture we're all swimming in. Hustle culture tells you to push and push until you physically break. It treats you like a machine designed to just endlessly spit out tasks. It whispers that if you aren't grinding 24/7, you're falling behind. But spoiler alert, you are not a machine. You're a biological entity designed to adapt. And just like anything in nature, growth requires seasons. Think about a forest. A forest doesn't bloom 365 days a year. Sure, it has those vibrant periods of explosive growth in the spring and summer, but it absolutely needs the stillness and recovery of winter to sustain that growth. If you skipped winter, the trees would literally die of exhaustion. You require that exact same rhythm. So the crucial point is that we have to totally redefine what resilience actually means. Resilience isn't about being tough or just suppressing your emotions and ignoring the pain. It's not about plastering on a fake smile when your world is falling apart. True resilience, it's about feeling the sting of a setback, acknowledging the pain, processing that heavy disappointment, and then making the conscious choice to show up anyway. We have to stop punishing ourselves just for being human and having normal human emotions when things go wrong. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be sad. Feel the sting, give yourself the grace to recover, and then step back into the arena. Let's move to and see how this builds into something super actionable. It's one thing to get all this conceptually right, but how do we actually do it? If you want to start being kinder to yourself and genuinely leverage your failures, you need a toolkit. Inspiration is awesome, but strategy is what actually changes your life. So we're going to look at a 3-part self-kindness toolkit you can start using today: the daily audit, removing the filter, and embracing the pivot. Doing these will completely short-circuit that arrival fallacy we talked about. First up is the daily audit. The massive trap most of us fall into is ending our day by asking, what did I get done? We totally obsess over raw productivity, treating our to-do lists like a scorecard for our self-worth. If we don't cross off 10 things, we feel like a flop. You need to entirely flip that script. Starting tonight, ask yourself, who did I become today? Shift your focus away from what you produced and look at your character. Did you handle a frustrating email better today than yesterday? Did you show a coworker some empathy? Did you hold a boundary? That internal evolution is the growth that actually matters, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your task list. Tool number 2, remove the filter. This is absolutely vital in our social media age where everyone's shiny highlight reel is in our faces 24/7. Stop looking at people who are 10 years ahead of you in their career or fitness journey and feeling terrible because you aren't there yet. It is such an unfair, destructive comparison. You're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. What you don't see is the decade of silent failures, rejections, and data gathering they went through. The only valid metric? Comparing yourself to who you were last month. Just measure your progress against your own recent past. Are you slightly wiser or slightly more resilient than you were 30 days ago? If yes, you are crushing it. And our final tool, embrace the pivot. If a path is totally blocked, don't just stubbornly bash your head against a brick wall and call it perseverance. We fall for the sunk cost fallacy all the time, right? We think, man, I've already put so much time into this project or this job, I can't quit now. So we just keep pushing, even when we're miserable. Instead, take the data you've gathered and change your trajectory. Hustle culture tries to label this as giving up, but let me be entirely clear. Altering your course when the current path clearly isn't working isn't quitting. It's intelligent navigation. Honestly, it takes immense bravery to admit something isn't working and pivot towards something that will. I really want you to internalize this. You aren't behind. You are exactly where your unique experiences have brought you. Those moments where you completely stumbled, those embarrassing failures that pop into your head at 2 a.m., they are quite literally just the raw materials for the person you are becoming. Every dropped ball, every wrong turn, and every rejection formed the crucial foundation you're standing on right now. Think about a beautiful stained glass window. It's made entirely of broken pieces of glass, right? Your life is exactly like that. It's your foundation, not your finish line. Embrace the messiness of the process. Which brings us to a final thought for you to take away from this explainer. I want you to think about this. What is one failure that actually taught you something incredibly valuable? Think back to a time things went horribly wrong, but now, with the gift of hindsight, you realize it gave you exactly what you needed to grow. I'd love to hear your story, so definitely drop it in the comments below. And hey, if you needed to hear this message today, hit that subscribe button. Let's commit to building a community where we keep growing, not just grinding. Stop punishing yourself for the data gathering phase of your life. Thank you so much for learning with me, and I will see you in the next one.